It's 73 AD, and 960 people are about to die. Not soldiers, families, men, women, children, and a few hundred fighters who looked at the Roman Empire and said no, who climbed a plateau 840 feet above the Dead Sea and dared Rome to come get them. Rome accepted. 15,000 of the most battle-tested troops on Earth now surround the base of that cliff. Legio Tenfortensis, the same legion that burned Jerusalem 2 years earlier. The same men who turned an entire city into ash and rubble. They've built 8 fortified camps in a ring around Masada's base. They've stretched a circumvallation wall nearly 4 miles long around the entire mountain, sealing every escape route shut like a fist closing around a throat. No food gets in, no water, no messengers, no hope. And now they're building the ramp. A massive earthen siege ramp pushed directly into the western face of the cliff. Thousands of tons of rock and compacted soil, rising meter by meter toward Masada's walls. When it reaches the top, and it will reach the top, Roman engineers will roll a battering ram straight through the gate, and that will be the end. The defenders know it. The Romans know it. Everyone knows it. But here's where we change one thing. 3 nights before the ramp is finished, something drops out of the dark sky above the plateau. No parachutes, fast ropes. 12 figures hit the ground in under 40 seconds, weapons up, moving before the dust settles. No sandals, no shields, no torches. Instead, AN/PVS-31, night vision that turns darkness into daylight. Suppressed HK-416 rifles that kill from 300 meters without a sound. Semtex demolition charges, a satellite uplink, and enough ammunition to start a small war. They are United States Navy SEALs, Tier 1 operators, the most lethal small unit fighters in the history of human warfare, dropped 2,000 years into the past, onto a mountain that history says cannot be saved. And for the first 48 hours, it works. The ramp stops climbing. Roman sentries start disappearing in the night. The legion's commanders can't explain what's happening, and that fear spreads through 15,000 men faster than any plague. Then the Romans do what Romans always do. They adapt. They tighten the ring. They bring more men, more siege equipment, more pressure. And 12 operators. No resupply, no medevac, no reinforcements, ammunition running low. Start doing the math on what comes next. So here's the real question. Can 12 of the most dangerous men alive hold a mountain against the greatest army of the ancient world? Or does 15,000 always beat 12, no matter what those 12 are carrying? If this is your first time here, this is the channel where we drop modern military power into history's greatest battles and find out what really changes. Hit subscribe. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Smash that like button if you want more scenarios like this. And drop your ideas in the comments. What battle should we rewrite next? The best ones become actual videos. Alright, let's get to Masada. Before we drop 12 SEALs into 73 AD, let's understand exactly what we just put on that plateau, and exactly what's waiting for them at the bottom of the cliff. First, the Romans. Legio Tenfortensis isn't just any unit. This is the legion that crushed the Jewish revolt, sieged Jerusalem for 5 months, and methodically burned one of the ancient world's greatest cities to the ground. They don't panic. They don't improvise. They execute. A full Roman legion at peak strength fields around 5,000 heavy infantry, trained soldiers who've spent years drilling the same formations, the same attack patterns, the same responses to every situation an enemy could throw at them. But Silva hasn't brought one legion to Masada. He's brought elements of several units, plus auxiliary troops. 15,000 men who eat, sleep, and breathe siege warfare, grinding forward day after day with the patience of people who've never once lost a siege in 200 years. Their weapons are brutally effective for the era. Legionaries carry the pilum, a heavy javelin that punches through shields at 30 feet and bends on impact so the enemy can't throw it back. Behind that comes the gladius, a short stabbing sword designed for killing in tight formation at arm's length. Roman archers pin defenders behind walls from 150 feet, drilling arrows into any gap in the stone. And then there's the siege ramp, the most dangerous weapon in Silva's arsenal. It doesn't need to kill anyone, it just needs to reach the wall. The ramp is nearly finished. 3 more days of work, and Roman engineers will roll a siege tower and a battering ram directly into Masada's gate. That's the clock the SEALs are working against. Now let's talk about those 12 men. A standard SEAL assault team deploys with a loadout built around one idea: maximum lethality at every range simultaneously. Each operator carries an HK-416 assault rifle 0 to 300 meters, firing 800 rounds per minute through a suppressor that turns each shot into a dry crack that echoes off rock and disappears. 4 operators carry M321 grenade launchers, each one able to put a 40mm fragmentation round through a gap in a formation at 150 meters. 2 operators carry Barrett M82A1 sniper rifles, accurate to 1,800 meters. Any Roman soldier visible on that ramp is already inside their effective range. Total ammunition on insertion, roughly 3,500 rounds of rifle fire, 40 grenades, 4 claymore mines, and enough Semtex to collapse the ramp's foundation. 3,500 rounds sounds like a lot until you do the math. Against 15,000 men, that's less than 1 round per soldier before the team runs dry. They can't win by volume. Every single shot has to count. Here's the brutal asymmetry of this fight. The Romans have numbers, engineering, discipline, and time. They don't need to storm the plateau. They just need to finish the ramp and walk up. 15,000 men rotate shifts, rest, eat, resupply from the camps below, and keep working indefinitely. The SEALs have technology, darkness, and precision that the ancient world has no framework to understand. A Roman commander who's faced Parthians, Gauls, and Germanic tribes has never encountered anything that kills silently from 300 meters in complete darkness. But SEALs train for raids measured in minutes, not sieges measured in days. Every hour on that plateau burns ammunition they cannot replace. Every casualty cuts a team that's already razor thin. The Romans have all the time in the world. The SEALs don't. And that leads directly to the first night, when the operators stop observing and start hunting. Day 1. 2 hours before dawn. The first Roman sentry dies without a sound. He's standing at the northeastern watchtower of Camp C, one of 8 fortified positions ringing the base of Masada. His job is simple: watch the cliff, watch the ramp, make sure nothing moves in the dark. He doesn't hear the shot. Nobody does. The Barrett speaks from 800 meters out, suppressed, firing down from the plateau's northern edge. The sentry folds. The 2 men standing 30 feet behind him see him drop and freeze, scanning the darkness for an enemy that's already gone. No attacker, no movement, no sound except the desert wind cutting across the rocks. The SEAL is already repositioning. By the time the Roman camp sends a patrol to investigate, the shooter has moved 200 meters north and gone completely cold, prone, motionless, wrapped in a thermal blanket that drops his infrared signature to near 0. Night vision active, radio silent. Watching the patrol stumble through the dark with torches that destroy their own night vision and announce their position from half a kilometer away. It's not a fair fight. It was never going to be. Over the next 4 hours, 3 more sentries disappear from 3 different sectors, each shot from a different position, each kill clean and silent. By the time dawn breaks over the Dead Sea, Lucius Flavius Silva has a problem he's never faced in 20 years of Roman military command. His perimeter is bleeding, and he can't find the wound. The morning briefing is short and ugly. Officers argue. Nobody can explain what's killing his men. Silva makes the rational decision, doubles the night watch, pairs every sentry, adds roving patrols between fixed positions. He's just made the SEALs' job easier. That night, the team shifts tactics completely. 2 snipers stay on overwatch, tracking patrol patterns through night vision, feeding positions back on encrypted radio. The other 10 operators move, not to kill sentries, to work on the ramp. They low-crawl down the western approach in 2 5-man elements. The desert is cold, maybe 50 degrees, and completely silent except for the crunch of boots on loose shale that each man controls with every step. They move 30 meters, stop, scan, move again. The doubled Roman patrols are bright, torch-lit targets visible from 400 meters. The SEALs are invisible. They reach the base of the ramp's upper section at 2 hours past midnight. The Semtex goes into 3 load-bearing points. Focus charges designed not to create a massive explosion that wakes 15,000 Romans, but to fracture the internal structure, so the next day's work collapses under its own weight. They're back on the plateau in 40 minutes. At dawn, Roman engineers climb the ramp to resume work. The upper section shifts. Cracks split through the compacted fill. What took 4 days to build crumbles back down the cliff face in under a minute, taking 2 engineers with it. Silva stares at the damage from the valley floor. He pulls his engineers back, redesigns the upper section with stone facing instead of packed earth. adds 2 full centuries, 200 soldiers, as permanent ramp guards working in rotating shifts around the clock. The ramp starts climbing again, slower now, but climbing. And the SEALs are watching the ammunition count tick down with every engagement. 35 rounds on insertion. After 2 nights, 3,100 left. 400 rounds burned. 0 Romans stopped from finishing that ramp. The snipers are buying time, but time alone won't stop what's coming. Then Silva makes his first real mistake. He decides to take the plateau back at night. Silva's logic is sound, on paper. If whatever is killing his sentries operates at night, send soldiers up the snake path after dark. Flood the plateau with numbers. It's worked every time Rome has faced a superior fighter. You don't match them, you drown them. He sends 2 cohorts, 600 men, moving in tight formation up the narrow path that winds along the eastern face of the cliff. The snake path is barely wide enough for 3 men to walk abreast, carved into sheer rock, 840 feet above the valley floor. 600 men, single file, torches dark, moving up a cliff in complete darkness. The first SEAL sees them at 400 meters. He keys his radio twice. The signal. 2 snipers reposition to the eastern edge of the plateau. 4 operators move to the snake path's upper entrance with M249 machine guns and the last 2 claymore mines, each packed with 700 steel balls that detonate outward in a 60-degree arc. The Romans are 200 meters from the top when the first claymore fires. The blast tears through the lead element. 50 men gone in under 2 seconds. The narrow path means there's nowhere to go. Left is cliff face, right is 800 feet of open air. The column stops dead, torches flaring to life in panic, turning 600 soldiers into a perfectly lit target on a black cliff face. The machine guns open up. At 150 meters, firing down at a 40-degree angle, the M249s don't need to aim. The path is 4 feet wide. Every round that hits rock fragments upward into the formation. Silva stands in the valley, watching torches fall off the cliff face one by one, like dying stars. He recalls what's left. Less than half make it back down. Silva doesn't sleep. He thinks for exactly as long as it takes to understand one thing. Whatever is up there knew they were coming, let them get close, and chose the kill zone. This is not a desperate defense. This is a coordinated ambush by something that sees in the dark and understands Roman tactics well enough to use Roman predictability against them. He makes a decision that changes everything. No more night operations. Finish the ramp. Around the clock, torchlit and visible. Because whatever is up there hasn't fired on the work crews directly. Maybe it won't hit unarmed engineers. He's right. And that's the problem. The SEALs watch the ramp crews work through the night and hold their fire. 1,100 rounds left. 4 claymores gone. 1 operator down. A Roman arrow through the left shoulder during the snake path engagement. Still operational, but slower. The ramp will reach the wall in 36 hours. Ammunition for 1 more major engagement. The Semtex is gone. No resupply, no medevac, no reinforcements. The team leader makes the call. They stop trying to slow the ramp. They spend the next 24 hours preparing the wall instead. Every approach point inside the gate gets rigged. Choke points that will funnel the first Roman wave into a 40-foot corridor with no cover, no room to form up, nowhere to raise a shield that a rifle round won't punch straight through. The 960 defenders get organized into fighting positions for the first time, placed where the SEALs need eyes and bodies, not where terrified people naturally cluster. From the valley floor, it looks like nothing is happening up there. That's exactly what the team leader wants Silva to think. 36 hours later, the battering ram touches Masada's gate. Then, it stops being a siege. The gate splinters on the 3rd ram strike. Roman soldiers pour through the breach in tight testudo formation. Shields locked overhead, gladii ready, pushing into the gap before the defenders can close it. Standard doctrine. It's worked at 100 gates across 100 cities. The first sentry through the breach is 60 men, moving fast, expecting panicked civilians and exhausted fighters. They get something else entirely. 40 feet wide, no cover, no room to spread into formation. The first fragmentation grenade lands in the middle of the column before the lead soldier clears the gate. The second lands 2 seconds later. The third closes the breach behind them. 60 men gone in under 15 seconds. 4 waves, roughly 240 men. None of them make it past the first 100 feet inside the wall. The snipers take officers first, the men giving orders, the men keeping formations together. Without officers, a Roman sentry doesn't stop fighting, but it stops thinking. Then, the ammunition runs out, position by position. Machine gun goes dry. Grenadiers burn their last rounds. Rifles drop to single shot. The team leader watches the breach and counts. 50 rounds left across the entire team. He keys the radio. One word: transition. The SEALs go to blades, and the defenders go forward. 960 people who've watched the most lethal fighters they've ever seen for 3 days, and decided that if these 12 men are willing to die on this rock, so are they. They pour over the wall simultaneously, screaming, pushing the Roman formation back through the breach by sheer weight of fury. Silva pulls back. He has 14,000 men and a ramp that isn't going anywhere. But 3 days of this has taught him one thing. He needs to understand what he's fighting before he sends another sentry into that corridor. For one night, Masada holds. So who wins? Rome wins eventually. 14,000 soldiers with unlimited resupply don't lose a siege to 12 men with empty rifles. Silva changes his breach point, sends simultaneous entries from multiple directions, and the SEALs can't stop all of them at once. But here's what changes. In history, Masada falls on the first breach. 960 people die by their own hands, rather than face Roman chains. With 12 SEALs on that plateau, the siege costs Rome over 800 casualties. It takes days longer. The story that reaches Rome isn't a clean, inevitable victory. It's the story of a legion that bled on a desert rock and couldn't explain why. And 960 people get to live long enough to tell their side of it. That's not nothing. So what battle should we drop modern operators into next? Leave it in the comments. The best ideas become actual videos. Thanks for watching.